Da 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 da. See, that's how you get away from copyright striking. It's different, so it's okay. Just kidding. Okay, so here we go. We've got Leia's Bounty Hunter Boushh helmet, part 2. This part is going to be covering the painting portion of the helmet. The first part covered basically the frame of the helmet. So if you haven't seen the frame part, go to the frame part, then come back to this part. Easy peasy. So, before you actually start getting into the tutorial part of it, I do have to let you know that I did paint the top portion of it brown and the face portion of it gray before you see the first clip. So if there was any confusion, that's why it's already pre-painted and you don't really get to see it, because I'm pretty sure you can figure out how to paint the top part brown and the bottom part gray. And I will post in the comments what color paint I used. And so with that being said, here we go! So this is a technique that I learned from the good old interwebs. What you're going to do is, after you have your base coats of brown and gray, you're going to take a white acrylic paint and paint around basically the edges or anything that might get wear on it. So like the brims, the edges under the eyes, around the metal pieces kind of thing. Then you're going to take a damp cloth and wipe it over top of the white and then paint over it again in a brown acrylic paint or whatever your base coat paint is. This makes it so when you dab it again with the dry cloth, the top layer kind of sponges off a little bit and the bottom layer shines through, and it makes it look almost like rusted or like an aged kind of look. It was actually quite neat. I had to do it a couple times to figure out exactly how I liked it, but the more you do it, kind of the nicer it looks. So experiment with that, and it's actually quite cool. So take your time too. I feel like this technique was kind of one-upping dry brushing. If you don't feel comfortable doing this, then definitely just do the dry brushing. It'll probably turn out just as great. Once again, I did the white and then I kind of covered it over in a base color, and then I just took my dry cloth to it and dabbed it off. You don't want to rub it, you just want to dab it very lightly, so then it kind of peels a little bit of the first layer off but makes the second layer still show. I just want to point out while I'm doing this part, look at, if you can, the side brim there. You can see how the white is a little bit, you know, patching through that rust color. It's actually really cool. It's just such a neat technique. And up close, video doesn't do justice for it, but up close it looks pretty sweet. So yeah, give it a go if you can. I did the same thing for the top. Oh, my voice just cracked there a little bit. Oh, puberty. I did the same thing for the top with a little bit of black splotches. I kind of like put them wherever I thought it might look cool. But same thing with a little bit of water, then you're putting the black on, and then you're just kind of dabbing it off very lightly. And once again, it gave it that kind of like dirty, I've been in a fight and I'm a badass kind of look. It is heartbreaking how little footage I have on this mouthpiece. I must have thought it wasn't very important because I have nothing. Anyway, I'm doing the same technique on the helmet. I just painted a base color and then did a little bit of black and then blotched it off. I did paint a little bit of black in the cracks as well to kind of make it a little bit more defined, but it was pretty basic. I mean, it wasn't anything super special, so yeah, it just kind of fit. So here's an up close of the mask after I painted it. I know it's super shadowy. Most of the time when I film, it's at night, so I have absolutely zero light. I should get like some fancy thing, but yeah, so you can kind of see it and it's super glary, but it kind of gives you an idea of the outline. The next step was to do the mouthpiece. This jacket I found at a thrift store. I think I paid $7 for it, and then I got another one for $10 for the rest of the costume. So it was a wicked deal, and I could use the leather for a million things. It is faux leather, but it still forms the right way, and it still gives the right effect. So that's cool with me. I did cut out the lining of it and cut out any extra bulkiness that it might have. and then folded it inside out, obviously, and tried to form it as best as I could to the face, and then try to go from there to figure out what I needed to cut off and what I needed to, you know, add on. Yeah, and then basically just forming it as best as you can to try to fit it in there. My piece, like obviously the sleeve was a little bit too narrow to fit over the whole piece, so I cut a little V in it, and you can just patch it up with more leather. It's so simple to fix those kind of things, so don't hesitate to cut into it. If you want a perfect seam, then, I mean, you could break out a sewing machine, but ain't nobody got time for that. Once you have it set, you're just gonna hot glue it down. I folded over the edges and around the seams. I folded over the edges to make it look a little bit cleaner. You don't have to do this, but I chose to. My glue gun comes with 2 settings, so luckily I can kind of touch it with my fingers to, you know, if I get glue on my hands, it's not gonna burn my hand off. If you don't, be careful, please, because hot glue gun burns are not fun. This thing also had like a little strappy thing over the nose, as you can see. This was on the jacket when I cut it off, and I was like, sweet, this is gonna look awesome. But then it was kind of too bulky for the nose for me, so I ended up cutting it off, but it had these 2 buckle, like these 2 snaps on the side that I did leave on. So I'm kind of glad I left those on, and I did choose to use that piece, but I mean, the nice thing about doing this is you can alter it however you want, and something like that could be a cool, you know, little addition to it. I needed to add the neck piece on, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do this, so this was more of an experimental thing. I basically did a fun foam piece from about ear to ear, and then took about 2 inches in and then just rounded it down. The whole piece itself is maybe about 3.5 inches wide there, and I just covered it in leather and then basically hot glue gun around the edges and then folded it in. It's nothing super special, but I just needed something to balance out the face because I made the mask more on an angle to face downward, so then the eyepiece looked, you know, correct where it was supposed to sit. So I had to add this on after to kind of give it a little bit more balance to the back. I found this in a box in my mom's basement. I was so proud of myself. It is like a light up glow wand from the dollar store that I cut apart because I wanted that LED strip and the circuit board thing that was inside of it. So I broke it apart and ended up taking it apart, but keeping basically the little button that pushes it on, the batteries, and the LED strips and the lights. It cost me $0, which I was very proud about, and it worked out fantastic. My only thing I didn't like about it is that the lights were all different colors instead of one mutual color, but I mean, whatever. Bakers can't be choosers. So if you do want to do something other than this, you can go to Walmart and they have strip lighting for cars. I'm sure you could use something like that. I did look into it, but I wasn't willing to spend $25 on strip light. I kind of just cut out the edges and laid it flat on that top piece, and then right here I'm finding a way to get the batteries to stay in place. So I cut out 2 fun foam blocks almost, and then just kind of glued them there so the batteries could stay, and put a little piece of paper over top just to hold them in. It's nothing technical, nothing fancy, but it works. So it's all good. The same thing with the switch button. It was just like this little yellow nub that just kind of had a little bit of rubber on the end that pushed on the circuit board to turn it on and off. I just took a little piece of fun foam, cut a hole in it, and did the same thing, just strung it across and made the nub kind of poke through a little bit. So there you go, there it's working and everything's all set, so I'm ready to start the next step, which is gluing on the neck piece. I mean, you don't have to wait to do this after, but I did, so whatever. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, glue that neck piece on, and I'm pretty sure that's about it, other than, the worst part of making this thing all together was trying to figure out how to get the gel over top of the eyes, and you will see. Hang on here. I brushed it with a little bit of black acrylic paint, and then that was done with that. The hardest part of this whole mask was doing the gel portion over the eyes in the light. So this I got from Staples. You got 10 of them for I think $5 or something around that area. I call it gel, but it's duotane covers. Gel's a theater term for the things that go over top of the lights. So it just kind of looks like that. It reminds me of it. So you're gonna cut out a strip and then just put a little glue on the back side or the inside and then glue it on the eyes. Easy peasy. The light part was the hard part. My suggestion would be to trace out the shape, glue on the gel, and then take foam around the edges and repaint it, or save it for the end and paint it on the end. It was really hard to do the way I did it, which was cutting into it and then pushing it into the grooves. Very difficult, but you can choose.
Stay still. Your combination closely. Your eyesight will turn shortly.
Loves you very much. Whew, it's hot in there. So, here it is. My Boushh. My Leia Boushh. I love Leia. And I love all Leia cosplay. And she doesn't have very many costumes that aren't slave Leia. So, with that being said, I wanted to do something different. So I started to try to do this Boushh. I know it's not the exact shape, but I mean, it's pretty cool for what I did. I mean, it cost me next to nothing, so why can you complain? It's made out of foam. A lot of it is that yoga mat foam. You can find this foam at any outdoor store. They sell it at Atmosphere, they sell it at probably Cabela's. I think that's a United States store. So Cabela's will probably sell it. It's basically like a yoga mat foam. And then I used a heat gun and whatnot to form it. This is just a sewing bobbin. I mean, this right here is, I believe that's foam as well. I think so. And then underneath, this light that I found was actually from the dollar store. I took it apart and kind of just stripped it down. I did go to Walmart and I saw that they had strip lighting for cars there, but it was kind of like $20, $25. I'm like, I'm not really one to spend money on stuff that I could potentially make at home. I don't like how it's different colors. I know hers in the movie isn't, but like I said, this one cost me nothing, where the other one would have cost me $25. So that cuts down the cost big time. This is Duotang covers, the plastic, and then I kind of painted it a little bit to give it a little bit more of a, you know, a little bit more of a dirty look so it blends in with the mask more. And then this is leather. It's faux leather. I got this from a thrift store. I bought 2 jackets. One was $10 and one was like, I think 7 or something like that. So this faux leather, it actually is, I'm going to make the rest of the costume out of the other jackets that I have, the rest of the one jacket and then the other jacket. I'm probably not going to do that till closer to November, but I was really excited to get the helmet done, so that's why I did this now. And then once again, this is all just that faux leather, and then I kind of painted it a little bit to make it look dirtier. The hardware on the side is consisted of anchors, some foam, buttons, more anchors. Same thing on the other side. It's nothing too fancy, but it does the job, so why do you complain? You can't. But once again, here we are. I have my Boushh Leia, if that's how you pronounce it. And it is a little bit hard to breathe inside, so I can't keep it on for too long. But other than that, that is what it is. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Goodbye!